What you guys, got another phone review. This is the Vernee Mix 2. Now if you're looking for a cheap phone for Christmas, or you want to purchase one of these for someone, then this is around about £150. If I get any discount codes, I'll leave them in the video description. Inside the box you're going to get a rubber backing here. This is to protect the phone from scratches. You also get a couple of protections here, one for the front and one for the back, to protect against scratching and stuff like that. You're going to get the SIM tray removal tool, and you're going to get your user manual. This is going to tell you everything about your phone and how to set it up and how to use it. Also, you're going to get your charging brick here. This is a USB charging brick with two pins on there. Also, your USB charging cable. This is to help charge your phone. It's not Type-C, it's just a standard USB. And you're going to get your device as well. Let's take a quick look here at the actual phone. Now this is the first boot of the phone, and this is what it looks like when you first turn it on. Now I've not installed any apps or anything here, but I'll show you some of the apps that you can get once you turn this on. So there's nothing on the sides on the swipes here, but if you go to the apps here, you'll see these are the bunch of apps that you'll get on the phone when you first turn it on. You can see there's a good bunch of apps there for you to mess around with. You can always add more in there. So as you can see, we do have a 3.5mm audio port there for our audio jack, so we can play audio through there. And on this side we do have our dual Nano SIM tray here, which I'll just quickly pop out with the tool, and you can see we can populate those two there as well. So that's always a nice touch. Now moving on to another area of the phone, which is on the bottom, you can see we do have a USB port here for charging, and also we have one speaker here. The other one is just a dummy speaker here. Now on this side we do have our rocker buttons. This is your power button and also your volume button, and these seem to work okay. On the back you can see there's a bit of a fingerprint magnet here, but we do have our dual cameras here, which is 13 megapixel and 5 megapixel, and we have our LED flash there and our fingerprint scanner on here as well, which is a nice added touch. On the front of the camera we do have a forward facing camera, which is on the bottom right hand corner of the phone, and that one is 8 megapixel. So let's move on to some device details of the phone so you can see what specs there is. So first up is the operating system. You can see we're using the Android 7.0 on this one, which is Nougat 7.0, and this is a pretty decent operating system. Moving on to the system here, you can see the Vernee Mix 2, and also the board name is the MT6757, 6 gigabytes of internal memory, and also we have 64 gigabytes of internal storage on here as well. So that's always nice to have. And let's move on to the next set of details here, which is the CPU. Now you can see it's using the MediaTek Helio P25, which is the MT6757CD, and you can see the specs there, and it's as a CPU cores of 8 cores, which is a pretty decent CPU. A lot of phones using that CPU right now. Moving on to the display here, you can see we have 1080p by 2160, which is an IPS panel. The screen size is 68mm by 136mm, 6 inches on the diagonal, and the pixel density is 402 dpi, which is pretty good. The GPU is the Mali T880. Also we have the refresh rate of 59 Hz, and that's a pretty good screen for this sort of price point. Now let's move on to the battery here. As you can see, we do have a capacity of 4,200 milliamp hour battery, which will give you a plenty usage there without having to charge it all the time, which is a nice touch. Now as you can see here, we do have a lot of sensors, and in fact there's 11 sensors on here, and we have the gravity sensor, your geomag, and also your proximity gyroscope and all that sort of stuff for your sensors. So plenty of sensors on here for this particular phone. Take a look at the cameras. We do have a 13 megapixel and a 5 megapixel rear camera because it has dual cameras, and the front camera has an 8 megapixel camera, which work pretty well. Now moving on to the features here, you can see we don't have NFC support on this particular phone, but that's pretty normal at this price point. Moving on to the Wi-Fi signal strength now. If you're interested to find out how strong the Wi-Fi is, I'll quickly test this on my network. Now I'm not very close to the router here, so I'm going to do a quick test on my Wi-Fi network, click on that and see what we get, and you can see we get a pretty good signal. So the signal strength from the Wi-Fi is pretty good. The multi-touch worked pretty well. I've got 5 points up on there on the multi-touch, and we're just going to quickly test the stage fright detector just to make sure there's no vulnerabilities that come pre-built into this phone. And as you can see here, there's no vulnerabilities at all on this phone, which is a good sign. So let's move on to some benchmarks here. I'm going to do some benchmarks and let you know what the score is, and you can see we have a 63,512 benchmark score, which is pretty normal for this particular sort of price point. And we're going to move on to the Geekbench 4, and you can see on the single core we have 817, multi-core is 3,735, and that is the Geekbench 4. Now also it does play games as well, and it can play games like Asphalt Extreme, Real Time Racer, and all these sort of games that you can get from the Google Play Store. It also plays games like this, which is pretty easy to play, and it can play much more complex games as well, and it handles these with no problems at all because you've got good RAM and also a good CPU in here. So games like this are no problem whatsoever to play, and this one is a pretty good fun game to get really far in it. It's not as easy as it looks, and if you've ever played this, then let me know in the comment section below your longest distance, and I'll tell you if you beat my score. But have a little go on it. It's a pretty cool game. You can get this from the Google Play Store for free, and it's pretty awesome. Now if you're looking at YouTube and you want to stream some movies down or something like that, then that can be done on this phone. It looks absolutely awesome. The screen quality is pretty good. You get really crisp colors and good vibrant colors here, as you can see. Now the music gets played back nice and clear, but it's not the loudest speaker out there on the market. And if the camera is a big selling point for you, you do get some filters here which you can play around with and add to your photos. Also the quality of the camera is not too bad, and also the video is not too bad as well. As long as you've got good lighting, you should get a pretty reasonable quality photo and video. You get face beauty, blur, mono, panorama and pro. These are added features that are built into the phone, which is also a nice bonus. And if you're looking for a sort of quality of camera that's on the sort of Samsung Galaxy S8 level, then maybe this is not the one for you, but you will definitely get a good enough quality camera to take photos and videos, but just bear in mind that the sort of price point that you are paying, you're going to get this sort of quality picture when you zoom in. You can see the prongs on the cactus are pretty clear. It's not that bad really, to be honest. A lot of people sort of roast Chinese phones for poor quality cameras, but you've got to remember the amount of money that you're paying as well for the actual phone. So I think the picture quality here is pretty acceptable. It's pretty okay, and you're going to get some reasonable photos and videos from this particular sort of camera. So just bear that in mind when you're sort of purchasing these sort of phones. Now also you can take rapid photos just like that, and it really works really well. The response time on there is really quick, as you can see. And also, as you can see here, the picture quality is not too bad, if you ask me. So let's move on to the pinch and zoom. I'm going to go on to BBC News website and take a look at the font here, and also take a look at the scrolling to make sure there's no jerkiness or stuttering. And I'm not expecting to see any of that with this sort of CPU and 6 GB of memory. So you can see here, nice and smooth, no shuttering or stuttering at all when you're scrolling, and I'm not going to be scrolling this fast, but you can see there's no problems there whatsoever with that scrolling there. So moving on to the pinch and zoom here, let's have a look and see whether there's any problems, and look at that font to see whether it's pixelated or anything like that. And you can see the font looks very clear, no problems at all there, and the pinch and zoom works really well. It looks pretty good there for me. Also, moving on to the conclusion then, so what do I think of the actual Vernee Mix 2? I think it's a pretty decent phone, to be honest, and if you're looking for a phone for someone for Christmas, or you're looking for a cheaper phone that's got some good specs, then the Vernee Mix 2 could be the choice for you. Anyway, I'll leave all the information in the video description with any discount codes. My name is Brian from briteccomputers.co.uk. Thanks again for watching, guys. Bye for now.